you obviously will not get it.
Of course, yeah.
So
we under a certain income and all
yes,
that. Right?
yes.
Okay. Okay, that's all. I just want a clarification. I'm okay with the rest of the items except, Mr. Chairman, I may just take the opportunity that I have the floor. I'm okay also with PH9. That's been subject to some conversations. I just have a very tiny amendment.
When I did, it goes the other way around. So because it has
Reach your,
You and me?
Mr. Mensah, thank you. You're recognized, Commissioner Zia.
Yeah, on PH9, I have a slight amendment. I discussed it with our city manager a little while ago, and I think he's okay with that. He's negotiated a very good contract, I think. The mayor agrees that we're in a good place with this contract. We've been working on it for a while. But I have a slight amendment on PH9. So we could take it out of order. We could take up PH9. It's just an amendment on the time frame instead of being 10 year.
You can propose the amendment now.
Okay, so instead of a 10-year and a 10-year, I want to do a 7-year, 7-year, and a 6-year. They still get their 20, but for the financing purpose, their financing purpose. But the 7, first of all, technology gets quickly outdated. Mm-hmm. The 7 gives us more time and also gives some of us an opportunity to revisit this contract instead of having all of us being gone in 10 years and then having no institutional memory as to the new process. At least in 7 years, it gives some of us an opportunity to look at this contract, their performance, what they've done, and whether they merit an additional 7 years. So all it does is instead of making it 10 with an option for 10, it makes it 7, 7, and 6.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Mr. President, is there a motion already on the floor?
If I could give some input in that.
You're muted, Mr.
I think it's a good amendment.
Commissioner.
I like to withdraw something from this particular item. We had a list of agencies that were going to get 25%. I'd like to withdraw Bayfront Park from that, and let me explain to you why. When I originally started having conversations with the owners of this firm, it was some time ago, they were looking at the land that Bayfront Park manages. And it was going to be a separate deal that we were going to be bringing up to the city commission. Somehow a lot of things have changed since then. I don't want to get into it all. I think the manager's done a good job in making a better deal from what was presented to us in the last meeting. But I want to withdraw Bayfront Park from that and have it as a standalone that I could bring it back later. And let me explain to my colleagues why, and I'd like to get some input. Unlike CRAs, unlike bids, unlike the DDA, that doesn't manage any of its own land, doesn't have its land, that they're putting these kiosks in there, Bayfront Park does. And Bayfront Park, from now in the future to whoever's chairman, should be able to keep, like it always has, all the activities that it has done in Bayfront Park. The only deviation that came throughout the years was Ultra, and that was for other reasons. But outside of that, that's how Bayfront Park is able to provide the services to that huge area of property that he manages without not requiring one penny from the city. On the contrary, with me as chairman, for the first time, we gave $3 million back to the city. So what I'd like to do, and I want for all of you to know what my intentions are so you can speak on it if you so wish, is to take this out. I will negotiate with this firm or other firms for the best deal possible, and bring this back to you with some additional projects that I would like to negotiate so that the money will stay in Bayfront Park. Now, if Bayfront Park doesn't use that money after a reasonable amount of time, and we have, overabundance of monies, which is not going to happen anytime soon with everything that's happened. Obviously, as long as I'm there, and I hope that whoever follows me as chair will do the same, would return that money to the general fund. And that's a philosophy that I've had, not just for Bayfront Park, but for any of our lands that are city-owned but have been put in trust. So if my colleagues would be okay with that, then I would like to withdraw Bayfront Park from the overall contract that we have before us, and come back to you at a future date with this and maybe some additional items.
Okay, before we move forward,
Mr. Chair.
clerk, is there a motion on the floor? I thought there was a motion for the approval of the PH agenda, and now we're making changes.
No, sir.
Okay, there's no motion, great. Okay,
Mr.
Commissioner Alex Diaz-Rabatier, and then Commissioner Kim Russell.
Thank you. Then I would like to move that we change the breakdown of the terms to 7 years, 7 years, and 6 years, and that we exclude Bayfront Trust Management Trust Fund out of the agreement, and we leave the other organizations in. So that would incorporate Mr. Carollo's, Commissioner Carollo's idea and my idea together into one motion, and that would be my motion. Thank you.
Commissioner Diaz de la Portilla, I just also wanted to remind everyone that this is non-exclusive, so it's a non-exclusive contract. So all the issues that came up in public comment, and now the fact that Commissioner Carollo is bringing up that he can negotiate with others, that is allowed because this is non-exclusive, and I wanted to make sure that was very clear for the record.
Clear. So that's my motion.
All right, it's been properly moved. Is there a second?
Yes, I said.
Second by Commissioner Reyes. Commissioner Russell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to clarify, if carving Bayfront Park Trust out of this agreement would that give the existing, the remaining, the kiosks that do go into Bayfront Park Trust into the DDA portion, or would it be actually a carve out so that Commissioner Carollo and the Bayfront Park Trust can work directly with that vendor and or other vendors? Because I think it should be clarified. If it's just withdrawing Bayfront Park Trust from this current legislation, it would then be encompassed by the DDA. I just wanted to understand where you're going.
I appreciate that, Commissioner, because I think we do need to clarify that. Obviously, it's a carve-out, so that anything that is managed or in front of Bayfront Park Trust is carved out for Bayfront Park Trust.
Mr. Chair?
You recognize, sir?
Yes, Mr. Carollo, you mean that any kiosk that it is placed, as I said, in the whole Bayfront Park, which is also is inside the DDA, that the DDA will not receive a single penny out of it?
That's correct. Bayfront Park Trust was given that land to manage it and to do whatever he could there, as long as it did not receive any monies from the city of Miami to be run. If we now are going to start carving out different items that will be the only ones that Bayfront Park Trust can bring money in, then Bayfront Park is going to reach the point, it certainly will be there now if we can't have any gatherings, where he won't be able to maintain himself any longer. And that's the difference between DDA, CRAs, bids, and Bayfront Park Trust. We actually have land that this could go on in. All the other city agencies, you're using the city's land to get that 25%. And just like we've done other things inside the park property, and has not been carved out for DDA or any other organization, that's all that I'm asking, to keep status quo like it's been.
Well, no.
Right, Commissioner Alex Diaz-Rabatier?
Correct, and this would only, Commissioner Reyes, maybe to assuage some of your concerns, this is only for the land that's Bayfront Trust Management land. It's not the rest of downtown Miami.
No,
So
that's,
you'll still have the DDA will still have a majority of those kiosks throughout downtown, will be placed, are part of, under the DDA's carve, a percentage.
But how many kiosks are gonna go on that land on Bayfront Park? I mean,
I can't imagine that there would be more than 8, maybe
Than 8?
maybe 10.
and every single commission, every single kiosk is gonna provide. I mean, it's gonna generate a very. It cannot be 8 because we have a distance, a separation. I mean, there is a separation clause there that they have to be. I don't know, 100 feet or something.
Well, whatever it is, on the separation of the clause, it has to be abided to.
It have to be abided. But I know that you are a very, very hard negotiator, but so am I. I would like to share some of those funds with you for PBA in certain aspects, because when you have your activities in Bayfront Park, you see it's all kept by Bayfront Park, and we have a lot of work to do on PBA, and we have to work together. And by the way, Commissioner Caroy, I mean, this comes to my mind now. Now that we have a new chairman of the Omni CRA, have they paid the $2 million that they owe you?
This is not a discussion now, and I'm sure that will be.
I'm just asking. It's just for my information.
It's more than $2 million, Commissioner.
Oh, okay. No, I just wanted to know.
And I'm not looking for a tit for tat in this one.
No, sir, I'm not looking for a tit for tat. Also, it's just a question that is a valid question, because I am concerned about your finances.
Yeah.
And this is I don't know. It's, you know, keeping them not only now, keeping the funds away not only from DDA but from the federal. I mean, from the general fund. It is also a concern of mine, because we are keeping only 25% of the revenues that generates for these institutions, but the rest goes to the general fund, and our general fund has been depleted. And as I understand, we're going to have we are up to, I guess, 19 million or 20-some million dollars in deficit. And keeping in Bayfront Park or DDA or anybody keeping all the revenues without sharing with the general fund is a concern that I have.
Look, Commissioner, let me explain this to you. The park can only generate funds by either the activities that it has there, which for the foreseeable future, probably for the next 2 years, we're not looking to make any money, maybe longer, with the way this is going, because we're not going to be able to have the type of concerts and activities that we had there once before, for at least 2 years, maybe more. This is a reality. Maybe nobody wants to hear it, but this is a fact of life that we're moving forward with coronavirus. Now, if that was the bulk of the activities that the park would generate funds from, 90+% of its fund, and where instead of you using, all of us using general fund monies to keep that park going and maintain it, then we have to be able to use the park like it always has been, with those dollars. I have some additional things that I'm going to bring forward. This is why I want to make this clear, and I've stated already that if we have surpluses for any reason, I will return that money. No chairman ever of Front Park has ever given a penny back to the city of Miami. I did, $3 million to the general fund. Now, your other question on monies from the Omni CRA, let me say this to you, that money can only be used in the Foray Park and only for new projects, not for any of the repair, any of the upkeep that we have to do there.
Maintenance.
Still the same.
Yes, I have a suggestion.
Well, before
Maybe you
before
make,
respond, Commissioner Reyes, Commissioner Diaz-Robert has his finger up. Just want to recognize him.
okay. I just wanted to make a suggestion, that's all. It's very simple. Can we do, can I suggest that we do a trial for the next 3 years and that you at Bayfront Park, or we could revisit this. This exception every 4 years, 3-4 years, and see how are we doing, and if it is needed to continue the way it is, because Bayfront Park is not generating any revenues, and then we can share revenues from the kiosk.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, you recognize him.
Well, let's keep it in perspective, okay? We're talking about 150 kiosks. Commissioner Carollo, I think that you said 8. I think it's not even that many. It'll probably be 6.
I'm not sure.
But well, because of the distance requirements between them. So I don't see it more than 8 out of 150. You're correct that Bayfront Park will lose a lot of, has lost and will continue to lose a lot of its activities. COVID-19 is a reality for many months, maybe a year. And people having events and revenue generators for the park. So I think it's a fair compromise that you're offering. I think Bayfront Park is unique in its nature. It's different than these organizations. It owns land, and I think it's only a small percentage of downtown, Commissioner Reyes. I don't think it's taking away from where the majority of the kiosks are going to be throughout downtown, because people are going to be looking for information. Once they get to the Bayfront Park, they know more or less where to go. But downtown is where they're going to be using the kiosks to go to the different metro rail stations and different businesses and everything else. So you're going to have probably the majority. I can't speak for them, but I would guess this, makes sense that the majority of these kiosks would be outside the area of the park, and I think that you'll be okay. I like the agreement the way it is, because I think it's been negotiated very strongly by our manager. We discussed it at our last meeting. I reviewed it with the manager. I think he takes it from 20% to 40% every year for a second year too. So I think it's a great revenue generator for our city. And more importantly, what happens is that we have to understand the tremendous revenue impact that COVID-19 is going to have on our city, not so much felt in the next 4 or 5 months, but next year's budget and the following year's budget. And we have to account for that. And we have to begin to think like a business. How do we generate dollars for our city? How do we generate more dollars to fill those holes that we're going to have down the line? So I think Commissioner Carollo's request is reasonable. It's not a big bite. It's a very small bite and a deserved bite, I think, because it's a park that's owned by the trust. And I think it's important that we just move this item forward and not go back and forth with something that we've been going back and forth now for.
I do agree with you, through the chair, I do agree with you that we have to move this item forward and now more than ever, because of the state that we are. But I also want to state my concern about revenues for the general fund, and also DDA, and which I'm the chair, and I'm concerned with the revenues that they're going to receive. And I think that Commissioner Carrillo has his point is well taken. And in the future, the way that I perceive the Bayfront Park, and given the amount of residents that are going to be moving over there, and you know that we are going to have many of them are going to pull back on any concerts or any activities that is going to happen there. We might be losing that increments. The part that I want a commitment that has to be not only his word, because he's going to be there until maybe 4 more years or 5 more years. He's going to be as the chair, but whoever comes after him should be committed also that any additional revenues, and if there is a surplus, that will be given, as you did before, Commissioner Carollo, should be returned to the general fund.
Well, I think we can probably, Mr. Chair, if I may, we can probably just incorporate that into my motion, that any surplus revenues, Commissioner Carollo, you're okay with that? You already stated anyway for the record, any surplus dollars would be returned, and I'll make that part of the motion, of my motion.
And I accept that as your seconder.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioners, I need to clarify a question since we're removing the Bayfront portion. I need to clarify if the kiosk that abuts Bayfront
That's
and
what it means. That's what it means, because you can't have kiosks in
Inside the park, of course.
the park and also have them in the sidewalk. It includes both. Those, that's why I said, parkland or land in front of the park, which means the sidewalks.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that then it'll be amended to include the, abutting, sidewalk.
Immediately in front.
Immediately in front, not across the street from this one.
Yeah, immediately in front of it. I got you, Commissioner Reyes, I understand. Immediately in front of the park.
Okay.
And by the way, Commissioner Reyes, there is a portion where Bayside is
Yes, sir.
that is not managed by
That's true.
Lakefront Park. That DDA would get money for that also.
Yes, I was thinking about that, yes. Okay. Commissioner.
Okay, gentlemen, so that we understand the modification that's been made to item PH 9. The motion is inclusive of the rest of the PH agenda as well, is that correct?
That's correct, and I move, yes, inclusive of the rest of the PH items that we had, I want to add to the motion that we also approve all remaining PH items.
We need to make a few amendments. I'm sorry, I apologize, but,
Then we won't do that. What we'll do then is.
You can still make.
PH 9, let's do this, let's do PH 9, and then we'll do the other ones, with anything else.
Okay.
I understand.
I move, the motion is actually just for PH 9.
All right, so
Okay.
probably
I
moving.
think that Commissioner Reyes.
Is there a second, PH 9?
Yes, I did.
Probably moving second to approve PH 9. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Still,
Aye.
as amended.
Thank you.
Chair, I have that vote as 5-0.
Correct, motion carries with modifications.
Okay.
What amendments do you need to make to any of the items?